Hi guys, this is Christine from A Naturally Balanced Dog, and I just wanted to talk today a little bit about supplements and do your dogs need supplements or not? There are two different types of supplements, at least that I kind of categorize. Supplements that are utilized because there is a deficiency in the nutrition of your dog, and or your dog has a condition that needs to be supported. So for example, if you have a dog that has arthritis, and then you might be giving them supplements to help support. So I have heard, people say that, your dogs don't need any vitamin supplements because they get nutrients from their food. However, if you are feeding a ultra processed commercial food, and there are synthetic vitamins that are added to it, and so that gives it its nutritional panel based on where the food might lack, and they're going to add supplements to help create a more balanced recipe. However, the reality is once you open that bag of food, it begins to oxygenate, and in that process, the nutrients of that food begins to become diminished. And in those cases, you may need to still supplement your dog's daily requirements for vitamins. The other thing is, if you are a person who makes their dog's food, and if you're not utilizing a recipe, then certainly there is a good possibility that your dog's meal is not being satisfied as far as the nutritional requirements. And so I learned this as a fresh food feeder. When I learned, it was based on a rotational diet that contained meat, organs, and bone, and some vegetables. But it wasn't until I started creating recipes with a program did I really see that way of feeding was very deficient. Some of the areas that I think are often deficient in homemade meals is iodine, which can only be supplemented utilizing kelp. Vitamin D deficiencies, sometimes I see the calcium and phosphorus deficiencies, and or they're not balanced. The other thing is your fat content, your fatty acids, your DHA and DPA are often out of balance. And so those are some things when you're making a home meal that can often be deficient. And with that being said, the other thing that plays a part is the quality of the food that we're feeding. And so there is a big difference between foods that are factory farmed versus pasture raised. And so if you have food that is pasture raised, it's going to contain higher amounts of nutrition based on the fact that that animal is eating foods that are more of a natural diet for them. These animals generally have less stress, and therefore they don't have that stress hormone. They get sunlight, which means there's more vitamin D. These animals are generally not given antibiotics and or hormones. And so they generally overall have a better nutritional panel than a animal that is being raised in the factory farms, which are generally fed GMO processed foods. They're given hormones. They're given antibiotics based on the living conditions that they have. There's a lot of stress. and anxiety in these, which are flooding the system with certain hormones, which are not beneficial. So certainly the quality of the food that you're feeding is going to make a difference in the nutritional panel of that food. The other thing that we have to consider is the quality of the vegetables and fruits and so forth that are being grown today are far different than the foods, let's say, from 20 years ago. And that's based on soil depletion, genetically modified foods, herbicides, pesticides, and other sites that are contaminating the soil. And so all of this plays a part into the quality of nutrition based on the foods that we're eating. With that being said, dogs that are in a diseased process, such as dogs that have immune issues, including dogs with allergies, dogs that have cancer, diabetes, and or simply they're a senior dog, or maybe they just don't have a good constitution, these animals are going to require more nutrients. So the foods that they're getting in, or the nutrition that they're getting in their food, is probably not going to be enough for the condition of that animal's life force. And so medicinal supplements are generally geared towards specifics. So as I mentioned earlier, for example, dogs that have arthritis, these dogs you might supplement with glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, hyaluronic acid. So the nutritionals that you might find in a supplement for a dog that needs joint support. On the flip side of that, if you're doing it based on food, then you're looking at, anti-inflammatory foods, such as like turmeric. Maybe you're adding collagen into the food. Maybe you're adding pineapple, which is great for bromelain. And bromelain is an enzyme that helps to remove the the growth in the joint that's creating the stiffness. So, there are certainly foods that you can be feeding. The other one is digestion. So maybe you have a dog that is having digestive issues, where you're giving a supplement such as a pre or probiotic and or some enzymes to help with the digestion. On the flip side, if you're feeding your dog, then you're looking for things like kefir and or papaya. One is great for pre and probiotics. You could add sauerkraut. Again, the papaya is great in enzymes. And so you can buy a supplement, but you can also use foods as a supplement. The problem with adding foods as a supplement, the reality is there's only so much food that you could feed your dog based on their caloric need. So in other words, if you have a dog that is experiencing something where maybe more nutrition are going to be beneficial for them, you can't possibly put that much food onto a plate, whereas utilizing a supplement helps to counteract overfeeding and creating obesity and other potential issues. However, I am a fan of whole food supplements, which are usually freeze-dried, dried fruits, vegetables, herbs that are utilized. And so if you look at it from a perspective, let's say, for example, the size of a blueberry. If you have one blueberry, there's only so much nutrition and antioxidants and vitamins and minerals that might be within that blueberry. But if you have some dehydrated blueberries that are ground down into a powder, it might actually equal about 7 or 8 blueberries to be the same size of that blueberry. And so what that means is you have 7 times the amount of antioxidants as a single blueberry. And so what we recommend is we have super phyto foods, which are freeze-dried and dehydrated vegetables, herbs, and some fruit that is in them. And we have 7 different varieties. We have Super Phytozymes, which is beneficial for adding enzymes into a system with a dog that might have digestive upsets. We have one for supporting of the joints. We also have one for calming. We have one to help detox for dogs that have allergies. We have overall support of skin and coat. And so there are varieties of the super phyto foods that we offer in those freeze dries. I particularly like them when I am making treats for my dogs. And so what I do is maybe scoop about 4 or 5 scoops of the super phyto foods into the ingredients, mix it in, and then incorporate it into my dog's diet through their treats. But you can also just sprinkle it onto their food of whatever it is that you're feeding. And then that can add some supplemental benefits as well. So dietary supplements, as I mentioned, help to support the body with important nutrients that are either missing from your dog's food, or they're not getting an adequate amount of the food itself. And medicinal supplements can help to slow the disease process and or help to build and maintain. So the quality of the ingredients matters and affects the nutrients found in our foods. So what type of foods you select for your dog can either strengthen or weaken their life force. And whole food supplements, again, can add support for nutritional deficiencies and or medicinal support for dogs. So you get that in an either or. And so if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the quality of foods and how to improve the foods, whether you're feeding your dog a processed food, you know, there are some things that you could do to add into the bowl that increase the nutritional value. And or if you're a person who is making homemade meals, you can add, again, whole food supplements to help balance any of the potential nutrient deficiencies that can be from that standpoint as well. I am attaching a link for you that gives you access to a free ebook, and it goes into more in-depth in regards to the quality of foods and how to support your dog from a nutritional standpoint. So I'd like to thank you very much for joining me today. You guys have a great day, and we'll be talking to you soon. Bye now.